So I grew up in a very small town. Both of my parents were raised religious, but they were it was a religious extremist environment. They were told to go to church. They were told to be heavily involved. It was never a choice. It was never an option for them. So they didn't want the same for my sister and me. They wanted something more than what they had. That's what they thought of when they thought of church and when they thought of religion. So in the alternate, it was never really talked about in our house. I knew there was a God. I believed that with all of my heart. And when I hit hard times, I prayed for a little peace of heart, a little help, but never went to church. There was one main church in our small town, and it was very large, very impersonal. So that's what I thought of when I thought of church. So I never really had that desire, that weight on my heart to form a relationship with God because I didn't know any better. When I moved to Orlando, it was a very big change for me. I'd grown up 18 years around the same people. I graduated high school with the same group of students that I started kindergarten with. So I was one of two people from my hometown to go to UCF. So it was a lot of change. Around that same time, my family opened our eyes to some financial struggles that they'd been having, that they'd been kind of keeping under wraps for a little while, and just how bad things were. So it was a lot of change. Everything in our lives were affected, health and friendships and work environments, and nothing really felt safe or secure or untouched by it. So it kind of turned my world upside down. I was a full-time student and I was working 3 jobs to put myself through college. And I was doing everything I can to send some money back home and help where I could. But I felt very helpless. I had anxiety issues and I was stressed all the time. There were a lot of nights spent crying on my floor. And I just had this weight on my heart that I didn't know what to do with. So I had an opportunity after I graduated and got my full-time job to keep one of my jobs that I had throughout college. And I had an amazing opportunity fall in my lap where H2O needed a new venue to have their service out of temporarily, and lucky for me, it was one of the venues where I worked. And I'd had this calling on my heart to find a church, to find that sense of community, to build my relationship with God, but there was always something that was holding me back. There was always an excuse I could make up in my head that kept me from pursuing it. So I look back and I think it was God's way of saying, I know you want this and I know you need this and I know this has been on your heart, but you're not taking action, so I'm going to bring church to you. And so I was there every Sunday from the beginning of service when H2O would set up to the very end when they would pack up the truck, and I would hear the message and I would see that genuine sense of community and those relationships, and I wanted that. It was on my heart. I bought a Bible and started reading it at night and would talk to the pastors and form those relationships and go to a life group and form that bond and that relationship with God. So I saw these Christians and I heard their stories of what they overcame and their battles throughout life until they found Christ. And I heard of these grand aha moments of when they accepted Christ into their heart. And I kept thinking that's how it went. That's what I needed. And so I prayed about it and I waited for that moment and it never came. So what I did get was the realization that I don't need that grand aha moment. I had already accepted Christ into my heart and into my soul, and I didn't need the grand gesture from above. I had God.